Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Yeah, if you're looking at the last couple of weeks thinking, people are acting strange, like weird things are going on, there's a reason for that, at least astrologically. And we're going to talk about that and so much more today. She is a heart-based intuitive, best-selling author, speaker, coach, Reiki master, minister, much more. Becki Koon joins us today. Welcome, Becki. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Steve. How are you?
I'm well, yes. And what I'm referring to here is not only are we in a Mercury retrograde, we'll explain that in a minute. We've got a full supermoon going on at the same time. And if you're watching this, outside of early September, if you just stumbled upon us, the retrogrades take place 3 times a year, typically for about 3 weeks. So be prepared. There'll be another one and another one and another one.
Yeah, it's not going to stop.
Exactly. Yeah, because the planets don't stop, although they could appear to be spinning backwards, and that's Mercury retrograde. Right, right. Are you experiencing it? Are you seeing freaky, weird things go on?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's like, I'm always reminding people, it's not just you. It's not just you. The craziness you're feeling, not being able to sleep, strange events happening. It's not always just you. You have to remember there's bigger things at play, right? Astrologically, energetically. So whether that makes you feel better or not, I hope so. But recognize that there are a lot of things that we're impacted by that we don't think about or we don't remember or we don't recognize.
The sleep thing is interesting.
The astrological.
Thank you for bringing up. Thank you for bringing up the sleep thing, because I've got a lot of friends and family saying the same thing right now. Like, I don't know what it is. I keep waking up, and it's probably because of the alignment of the planets. I know it sounds woo-woo, but I'm going to interject here and say that astrology is a science.
Yes.
Centuries of proof behind that. Yeah. So with your knowledge of everything that we're talking about, Mercury retrograde, scale of 1 to 10, 10 being, whoa, this particular one, strap in. This is a crazy one. We still have another couple of weeks left or whatever. Where would you put this one?
It's right up there. 8 or 9. I mean, it's because we had the super blue moon, right? So there was also that happening right in the middle of all of it. And people are affected by the moon. I mean, that, emergency room visits go up during a full moon.
Yeah.
All kinds of crazy things happen because people are impacted by the movement of those lunar cycles. So yeah, it's been quite the journey. So if you're waking up a lot at night, it's probably because you're just feeling the energies moving around. Right. Weird dreams. People have strange dreams. Intense dreams.
Yeah. And I don't know the end date top of my head, like mid-September when this one will be over, just a little bit before. How are you connected to all this? You're not per se an astrologer, but how is all this in your wheelhouse?
It's energy.
Okay.
so I'm an empath, very energetically sensitive myself. So that's just been the journey of my life and learning energy and how energy works and the dynamics and how it impacts people. Because when I work with clients, that's the realm that I'm working with. I'm working with their energetic field, how they're impacted. What is their body showing me? What is their body saying? And more often than not, there's a consistency that people have when they come see me related to what's happening in the bigger picture. I mean, it can be even, Steve, it can be global events. Like if there's a global event somewhere, it can kind of shift the energy. They did those studies with prayer and how prayer can impact, a place or a situation, right? So, I mean, it can happen in both the positive and the challenging, right?
Sure. Absolutely. Now, when you say empath, and I have friends, connections who they're definitely empaths, whether they want to admit it or not. What does that look like for you when you work with somebody? You're picking up, you're more sensitive to their energy. And I believe as a a life coach and so much more that you do, it's almost as if you have a running start on the situation. Do you
Mhm.
view it that way?
Yeah. Yeah, I do. And what's fascinating is sometimes even when the person walks in the door,
Hmm.
I will have a wave of something come over me, an energy or a feeling, and I can tell before they even speak
Wow.
um, if there's something that we need to address. Um, but
Hmm.
I'm not. I mean, I think there are more people than they realize that are sensitive or are empathic. I mean, if you're somebody who recognizes people's emotions, like if you can walk into a room and you look around the room and you can tell, wow, this person really needs some support right now. That's being empathic. You're sensing what this person might be going through or feeling. So,
Hmm.
being empathic, I mean, I think, we're more so that way than we realize, most of us. It's just maybe you haven't heard the definition or you haven't been, it hasn't been put in that term for you. Like, have you ever walked in the room, Steve, and felt something just
Oh
happened
yeah,
here? Yeah.
totally. And I even try to tune in. Like if I walk somewhere or go somewhere, I'm like, just saying to myself, pick up the energy. What do we got going on here? Let's look
Yeah.
at it. Or I walk into the gym and some days I'm like, raise your vibration. Maybe you had a, challenging morning, raise your vibration. Let's see.
Huh?
And I do feel that strangers will pass by, it's a big gym. So, walk in here or
Mhm.
there. People will, look at you and say, hey, how's it going? Or smile or whatever, where normally they wouldn't. Would you say being an empath, and I don't mean this in a negative way, is a blessing and a curse at the same time?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I want to tell you how I learned that. I was connected to somebody about a year and a half ago for like 6 months. She is a nurse,
Mhm.
and that's where I started seeing all of this. And she would come home from working and just be shot, drained, like
Mhm.
just like almost she had to take a day off sometimes or make a day built in because she was absorbing all the energy from everybody that she was helping. And even sometimes she had some addiction issues from the past.
Mhm.
Sometimes, she'd reach for a glass of something just because of all of the
Sure.
empath whole situation. And I would try and tell her, you realize you're an empath, you're taking on their energy. You have to let it go when you leave them. But she had challenges navigating that. Do you
Sure.
hear stuff like that?
Oh, all the time. And I myself have not tried, I've had to learn how to navigate that because there's such a thing as boundaries, like learning what's your energy and what's someone else's. And it's not
Yeah.
easy when you're empathic because you so easily feel and empathize with other people. And so you can take on what's theirs, right? And not even realize it's not you. so so it's like a lifelong path has been for me to be able to kind of work with my own space, my own energy, be able to work with clients and have them in the places that they're in emotionally, energetically, and be able to keep kind of a boundary so that it doesn't impact me physically because I spent a lot of years
Mm,
where that was the case.
yeah. And trying to figure it out.
Yeah, and not
Yeah.
really understanding or knowing why was it that I wanted to fix everything when I get into an environment that was a little bit off. Becki was always trying to fix it. I was always trying to make everybody feel better. I wanted to fix it because I too needed to feel that ease, right? Because I
Right.
was sensing all of that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
What can you give an example when you work with somebody for the first time and they're in front of you? Some of
Mhm.
the things you've picked up on somebody. And by the way, have you got anything on me and empathically or anything? I'm an open book. Throw it out there. But when you're getting something from somebody, like like an example, and it can be a real example. Of course, it's anonymous, but I'm just kind of
Mhm.
curious what you've gotten and then that it was validated.
Sure, sure. So, I had a client come in one day and I felt this heaviness, real heaviness. And I didn't know this person, right? This was just the first meeting. This person comes in. I look at them and I said, wow, you've had a loss. Now, for me, I work with a lot of people in grief, but he walks in I said, you've had a loss, you had this deep grief, and this is why you're here. Like this is why you came to me. And I said, is it okay if I give you a hug? I mean, because this person, I didn't know, but right, I felt that that was something that needed to happen. And as I hugged this person, they just broke down and cried and started crying and saying, I lost my brother.
Mm,
So that would be an instance where, I'm kind of sensing maybe something that I maybe don't have all of the information, Steve,
sure.
but I'm feeling the energy behind it.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep. And if you had the other information, I would say you're a medium or maybe
Yeah.
a psychic in that area, because I have very close friends. They got
Mhm.
something. There's this, you
Well, and
know,
that happens too.
and that happens too, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Some but you're picking up on the energy. You might not have the full story from spirit on
Yeah.
the other side. It's
Yeah.
whatever anybody believes. I believe in
Yeah.
all that. It's because I've witnessed it, and I'm the biggest skeptic on the planet. But when somebody says something, I'm like, how'd you do that? Like, how,
Well, and
specific stuff.
the fun part is when you pick up on something and it doesn't make sense to me. Like, I don't know why this is coming to me. I don't know why they're showing this to me, my guides or your guides or whoever's coming through, right? I don't know why I'm seeing this, but I'm going to just share it anyway. Kind of like John Edward, right? And and you share it and they're like, wow, how, like there's no way you could have known that, right? So I mean, a
Yeah.
lot of times there's that validation.
He I'm very connected to him.
Oh, okay. Mhm.
He started with me
He's amazing. Yeah.
in media like
Yeah.
25 years ago.
Oh,
And I got
yeah.
stuck. I want to say I got stuck with him because I was doing a morning show on radio, and they said, "Yeah, there's a psychic fair, and this you got to have the psychic on." I'm like, "Really?" And then that's where it began. But I will tell you this, and we move past it. He's told me things over the years that have been spot on, and he told me something almost 3 years ago that changed my life.
Wow.
And
Wow.
it was he was thank you. And
Yeah.
after that, he told me some things that, how the heck do you get that? Like random stuff. And it was very specific. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what? We probably all have very similar ability, but some of us are able to tune into it where the rest of us can't.
Well, and you can learn to hone that skill too. That's something that
Sure.
I work with clients sometimes on, as well as helping them kind of hone their own intuitive ability, because I had a woman who had lost her daughter and she came in to see me and her daughter came through and she wanted to learn how to connect to her daughter uh, in that way as well, right? And stronger. And so we worked with honing her intuition, honing her awareness,
Sure.
and then she was able to develop a connection that was
Uh,
beautiful for her.
I totally believe it. My
Mhm.
mom passed 4 years ago, and when I ask for signs,
Mhm.
I get them.
Yeah.
I get them. I don't overdo it. It's almost like, the genie in the bottle and the three wishes. I don't want to overdo it unless I really need a sign. Um, but
Right.
that's my advice to anybody. Ask for something and you shall receive it. However, you need to be open to receive it and
You need to be open. Yeah.
let life get out of the way. Like, yes, we're in a rush here, got to pay this bill, blah, blah, blah. I have something on the wall that I got from my mom a couple of weeks ago.
Mm.
And
Oh, wow.
I just randomly threw out there, I'm like, hey, mom, been a while. I got some stuff going on. Can you just throw me a sign that everything's good? And
Yeah.
I had a new modem installed from the cable company, and there's a password at the bottom. It's
Mhm.
just computer generated. It's a random password. It's a couple of like random words. I go to flip it over to type in the password word for Wi-Fi, and there's 4 digits dash my mom's name dash 2 digits.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I just
See.
asked for a sign, and that was my sign. And of course, I look at the digits and I'm trying to figure them out. And I have they do correlate to two specific numbers. I haven't yet figured that out. I'm not a numbers guy, but
Right.
there's
Right.
something there. She's trying to tell me something,
Yeah,
and
there's a
I don't
lot
know.
to the numbers too.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you
Uh,
see random numbers all the time, or if you see sequential numbers, or if you, I mean, the universe, spirit, I mean, it's trying to talk to us all the time,
all the
but
time.
it's whether we are receptive,
Yeah. It's like
right?
even the first two numbers of this password, If you break them into two separate numbers, if you deduct
Okay.
7, it comes out to the age that um, she was when she passed. And
Wow.
if you deduct 7 from my age now, it is what my age was with the number 7. So it's, I
Oh,
don't know.
wow.
I haven't
Well,
figured that out yet.
yeah.
I haven't figured that out yet.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's super cool when you're open to it. Tell us about, you're the best-selling author,
Hmm.
and the books that you have. One in particular stands out for you?
Probably my first, well, it's the second book I wrote. And I did not expect to be writing a book about it, but it was about the conscious death passage of my husband. He passed, he transitioned. I like to say, he transitioned almost 4 years ago,
Oh,
September 24th, four
wow.
years ago. And we had 20 days from the time he found out he had terminal cancer until he left the planet. And we did a very conscious process of him working with his body to let go of, I mean, he was my soulmate. We had an amazing relationship.
So
And
sorry.
yet when he found out and came to me and he said, this isn't about me surviving. This is about my transition. He accepted it completely. He accepted the journey, and I accepted with him. Like I told him, I'm with you. I what can I, wasn't what we wanted, either one of us. He was young. He was 64. But it's what we did. It's what we did.
Wow.
So we did conscious death together. And we had always wondered, what a deeply spiritual relationship we had. And so we were talking about, I wonder if we can stay connected. I wonder what that might look like. Does that, continue? And he came to me 3 weeks after he passed in a very, very, vivid meditation. And, Jesus was there. I'm very connected to Jesus. And so it was very powerful for me. And then I started getting signs, right? Like we were talking about earlier, those signs that let us know that somebody's there with us, or somebody's watching out for us, or whatever, right? I started getting those signs. So that first book is about
Wow.
the 20-day journey, and then the 9 months afterwards of me learning how to navigate life and connection.
That is one of those things that, that like the situation, what would you do if? And most of us are not faced with knowing that in a short period of time. How you would handle it. Like, what would you do in that situation? It's just, can I ask, did he know that he was ill and then he got that diagnosis, or this was just a complete surprise?
He had been coughing, right? He thought he had a cold. He thought he had, maybe, just a really bad cold. So he was coughing. He had lung cancer that had metastasized to other organs, but he didn't know it. Like he just thought he had a cold. But then when he started coughing up blood, he knew something was up. And so that's when we went in and we found out it had very far advanced. But he was an amazing soul. I mean, he was able to navigate life and not really show signs until the end. And then it was a letting go. He knew it was the journey. In fact, he told me, he said the real reason that we had come together and spent beautiful 12 years together was the afterlife journey that we were to do.
Mm. What you just said,
And that I would be writing a book about it. So
well, helping
yeah.
others. And here's an example of why others need that book. I work for a company, a radio group, and I'm on the air every day. There's a guy in the company, and I met him a few times, but exactly what you just said just happened to him, and
Oh,
he transitioned. Exact
mhm,
same thing. I don't want to say
mhm.
exact, but it sounds like you're talking about the same person. And this was, I don't know, 3 months ago, somewhere around there,
Yeah.
where lung cancer and
Mhm,
coughing, and then
mhm.
I think it was 2 weeks for him. He's just started getting treatment, and that was it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's funny how we both separately started talking about signs.
Uh-huh.
He passed 4 years ago. My mom passed 4 years ago, and I'm a big believer in all of that. And then you
Yeah.
just validated it again. It's
Yeah.
there. And
Yeah.
yeah, the book, that's a book that people need to see.
Well, and I'm excited because right now I'm in the recording studio. I have a small recording studio in my business as well, and I'm doing Audible. So I think probably in October we'll have an Audible version
Cool.
of me actually reading the book, which is really intense for me because that first 20 days is a diary event. It's
Wow.
every day what we went through and what we did to make the transition happen. And so it's intense. It's been quite the journey for me to read it. Yeah.
Wow. It just reminds me of that song, Live Like You're Dying.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's interesting, Steve, is 20 months after he passed, I had my own cancer diagnosis and went through stage 3 cancer, breast
Wow.
cancer.
Wow.
And so my second book that I wrote is about that journey and how I navigated and moved through that. And yet finding life. Like for me, it was a different journey. And I found, finding life and gratitude and for everything that I've experienced, right? For everything we go through, we have the opportunity, right, to find that.
Wow.
Yeah, there's
I don't believe there's any coincidences, and I know it's a cliche, but there are reasons that this stuff goes on, and you're here.
yeah,
I mean, you found your purpose in helping people heal, and maybe this all had to happen so you can help even more people heal. I don't know the answers, but there's something there,
yeah,
especially you going through your own cancer situation. Um, yeah, and been through some myself, so it's like I feel that maybe I'm not an empath. I don't, maybe a little bit. I don't even know. But I'm more sensitive to a lot of this stuff, and
yeah,
that's probably why it happened.
right, right.
Um,
Well, and
wow.
I think you do end up. I mean, if you have that that situation come up in your life, whether it's a loved one or yourself, I mean, you're questioning those kinds of things. You're questioning your life and your life force and what that means. And for me, it's been this journey of just stepping into the divinity within me, or that divine connection, because I so am connected to spirit. I'm so connected to the fact that we go on. We're not done. This is just the physical manifestation right now, right? But that there's something more, um, and navigating that through a lot of different scenarios. And
Well,
now I get to support clients in that.
sure. And I I realized in the last couple of years, in my journey, which changed like 3 years ago, number of different reasons, that we just what you said, that we are spiritual beings in a human vessel. This is just a container. This is just,
Yeah,
it's, and then the next phase will be something else, and whatever it is. And if you believe in uh past lives and all of that, you were a different vessel back then.
yeah,
Yeah. And as opposed to, I'm a human, but I'm spiritual. No, I think it's the other way around.
yeah.
And
It's the other
and
way around.
again,
Yeah,
where does that come from? More and more evidence of talking to people like you, learning, observing, all of that stuff. Why
yeah,
is your husband still connected to you? Why do I get stuff from my
yeah,
mom?
yeah,
Because
yep,
we're energy, whether the energy is here, over there, wherever it is, I don't
yeah,
know, wherever there is,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
still there.
It's right.
Um,
It's still there. And
it's still there.
in fact, in the book, I do some channeling with him. He has information to share from that wherever it is he is. And so it was a fascinating journey for me to tap in and go into that state of awareness myself to be able to channel information from him.
Yeah. I wish we could all do that. what,
Well,
what a,
actually, we do it more than we realize, Steve.
probably right. But even at the very least, I wish we could all practice gratitude, because it's been proven what a difference it makes. And we could do a whole podcast on gratitude. I mean,
Yeah,
it's,
right,
um,
right. Yeah.
so if somebody wants to move their life forward, they're stuck, whether it's the retrograde or whatever it is. How does it work with you?
So, I do in-person and Zoom sessions. And so we just connect energetically. I work with the person. I do Reiki. So it's kind of the foundation piece, but it's so much more than that, right? an energy session. So really, when people work with me, even though I'm a life coach and I have these other tools in my tool belt,
Yes.
we're trying to move energy. We're looking at the energetic part of the person. What's the body showing us? What's the spirit showing us? And how do we connect the two? How do we connect that soul essence? And sometimes, because sometimes people, if they've experienced trauma, Steve, they're not really connected to the body. Like they're like, I don't like this life, or I don't, this has been tough. And, they're kind of, their essence is maybe a little bit outside of the physicality. So, it's just a matter of seeing what that person needs. And every session's different, and every session's different with people I've worked with for years.
Sure.
It's amazing.
Oh, I'll bet. And even I've had some Reiki sessions where the practitioner, all virtual, by the way. No, I'm not going to say all of them, but the more impactful ones were virtual with different people. The stuff they told me after, mind blowing. Like, how would you even know that? You're not going on Facebook. You're telling me things about myself. They don't even know. They're like, I got this, but I'm going to share it. I'm sure you get that too, on the energetic level. But you've got so many great modalities working for you. I mean, there are a lot of great life coaches. There are a lot of great Reiki masters out there. But when you take all of that stuff in terms of what you offer, whoa, and it's like amazing. And then
I love what I do, Steve. I love supporting people, being in service. That's it. I just want to be in service. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's even as a coach, to be an ear, you're hearing in a different way. Your friend, you could tell your friend something and they hear it one way. You're hearing it from an energetic level, and then and feeling all of this around. How do we find you, Becki?
You can go to my website. It's BeckiKoon.com, BeckiKoon.com.
And on your website, details about the books we were talking about.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Cool. Here's to a great retrograde.
Exactly. Everybody just recognize it's not always all you. Okay.
And you know what? Don't be afraid. I mean, and technology, back up your stuff. My printer got hacked the other day during the retrograde.
Yeah.
So
well, it affects computers and electronics.
100%. And for those who don't believe, okay, why didn't it happen before that? Why did it happen during? I've since taken care of everything. It's all good, but just another example. It's like, all right, yeah, another thing we gotta, things like that. But Becki, always amazing talking with you, and
it's great.
Lots to talk about in the future, and I look forward to it.
Yes, I'm excired. We're gonna have some fun, Steve.
Yeah, I feel it. I feel your energy, and give me some of that. It's good stuff.
Okay.
All right. We'll talk soon. Thanks again.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, I mean, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.